It is noon in Texas, guys. It wouldn't be a live stream without some technical difficulties, but I think we got through it. We're going to get started here in just a minute. Thanks for joining. Live. Good afternoon. It's 12:01. I made it. It's 12:01. Ham Radio 2.0 lunchtime live stream. So, yeah. I was talking to my brother's a big Mac head. So, he would get along with Mike probably. But I was talking to my brother. I'm just going to tell you the short story real quick. I talked to my brother the other day. And he got a new job a year or two ago, and they're all the computers are Windows, and he likes to gripe about Windows, of course, which I don't really blame him, quite frankly. But leaving that aside for the moment, he was talking about how Windows crashes all the time. I'm like, what are you talking? Like, literally, I have 4 machines, including my laptop here at home, and I never get any crashes. Well, guess what happened 10 minutes ago? My whole system froze. And yeah, I had to hard reboot, reset it, and OBS or Restream's doing something weird where my chat overlay is not working. I don't know. So yeah, I should keep my mouth shut about how Windows is, I guess, because he was blaming Teams, Microsoft Teams, for making a system crash, and I'm like, well, Teams is not an operating system. Well, it's made by Microsoft though. Yeah, but it sucks. So stop using it. But that's what they use in their work. All right, so little. Right, exactly. Yeah, they can't hear you right now, Michael, but yes. He says, don't confuse the symptom with the root cause, which is totally correct. So, special shout out to people in green text in the chat. I saw Andy Callie in there. He was there pretty early. AA0AM is in there. AC3IK, Phil, W0HP, K7TRD. You guys are YouTube channel supporters, and I really appreciate you guys supporting the channel and being here today. So, we got a pretty cool show lined up for you. I did a really short video at Hamcation in February and posted that the week after I got back about FlexRadio amplifiers and tuner geniuses, Power Genius, Tuner Genius, and Tin Genius, all of the geniuses except for the Apple Store Genius. They don't sell that crud. Okay, all the geniuses are being sold at FlexRadio now. So, and this whole show was Michael's idea, so I'm going to bring you guys in and unmute you, and good afternoon. How are you guys doing?
We're good. Yourself?
Good afternoon.
I got the system back up in time, so I can't complain. So.
And you were munching on all those potato chips at the same time, right?
Yeah,
so.
Doritos, yeah.
Doritos.
So, very true.
You were slamming Windows. I'll be honest, I run Windows on my remote, at my remote station. It's sort of the core tool for the remote. Mm-hmm. And in running a remote since, when did I start this? 2005. Mm-hmm. It's never been a problem. It's been rock solid ever since. You know, it's like,
honestly,
no.
It's a pretty great. I mean, ever since Windows 10, Windows, what was the one before? Not Vista. Vista was crud. Windows 7, I think. Windows 7 was pretty good. Windows 8, I never really cared for. Windows 10's been pretty solid. I haven't gone to 11 yet. Generally, I wait about a year after Microsoft releases a new version of Windows to upgrade. Long before they sunset the old version, but still.
Steve, are you an early adopter by design?
Yeah.
Are you really? Wow. Okay. Well, that's cool. So, okay.
But then again, when I left the military in 2009, the network on the ship was still Windows NT.
Yeah.
So, and my laptop I'm on right now here in the conference room is Windows 11.
Okay, well it's working, so can't complain with that.
Yep.
But yeah, I have very few problems with my system. I built this computer here just for streaming because I wanted something beefy with a lot of memory and CPU power for streaming, and it's been rock solid for pretty much the whole time. And I don't know that I'm ready to blame Windows. I think I think it was either OBS or Restream that actually crashed the system just now. I don't think it was Windows, but anyway. Moving on. We will move on. We're not here to talk about Windows today. So FlexRadio is everything except the radios, I believe, is now being sold at Gigaparts, and I could pull that up here in just a minute. But why don't one of you guys kind of start from the beginning and tell us how that sponsorship came, or that partnership came about, and then we can kind of dive into whatever is on the agenda today.
I didn't get the agenda. Okay, we'll talk about this.
We're just, hey, I'm very shoot from the hip, man. That's all right. We just talk about whatever.
Funny, we were in a meeting yesterday, Steve and I, and our associated manager. So what are you talking about? We don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I still find it surprising, but maybe I shouldn't. We go to a ham fest, this Flex Radio, and people come up and say, "Who are you?" And never heard of us. But then they're not on social media. They probably don't get any magazines, and they just operate ham radio all day. So we a long time ago decided that we needed to expand our horizons, and especially since the 403A products, which is an amazing set of products they build in HF radio, from filters to pretty much everything. You need to go to their website. Also supports not only the Flex Radio and the Flex Radio ecosystem, which means everything communicates over computer LAN, which makes it very, I'm going to throw a bunch of buzzwords out, I'm really sorry, but scalable. Sure. It grows. Mm-hmm. It keeps Kyle busy, so he can interface everything to everything in Node-RED. So those products, the Power Genius and the Tuner Genius XL, also work with OEM radios. So we don't deal that much in OEM radios. So we met with, I guess Lori, or my VP, met with Gigaparts, I guess a while ago. It was after the Huntsville Ham Fest. And it took a while to get in place. And we thought, geez, why don't we make it available in their store? Because they have such a great online presence and a great, amazing marketing program. And just to show there's more to it, right? And
right.
They're, I don't know, Steve, we're still building it, right? It's taking some time to get it out there, and it's a whole new world and type of thing for that. And we do have customers who, run their Power Genius XL amplifier on their 7610 or their 7300. And the same thing for the tuner, but it takes a bit more plug and play. It's not quite as plug and play-ish, so it's a bit more plug and understand and make it workish. And Steve, anything you want to add as well?
I was, not to cut you off there at the end there. I would definitely agree with the plug, and it is in a sense plug and play, but plug and learn.
Plug and learn, yeah.
With everything that I did prior to Orlando, learning it, collaborating with Michael, Andy, and a few others with Flex, it works. And one of my concerns from the beginning was taking a Flex and I'm putting it to a 101D, and I'm going to put it on a TS590, and I'm going to put it on 7610. I had no issues. And the little hurdles that I had are very easy hurdles to overcome.
Yeah, it's the same as.
And do we still have things to figure out and work on? Absolutely.
Yeah, we it's no different than taking any radio and making your MFJ amplifier track, or you bought a Cat 500 from Elecraft and you want it to work with your Kenwood TS590. It's the same hurdle. It's just usually a couple of wires. And
I have a KPA 500 that I put on the back of my Flex 6400. We actually took it. Yeah, and it works well. And we keep that Flex 6400 down in Costa Rica. So the last time we went down there, I packed in my check bag, I think, I packed my KPA 500, packed it really well, and it was fine. I took it down there and plugged it into the Buddy Hex hex beam, and we did about 550 watts. So
that's a great little amplifier.
It really is. That amplifier that is a plug and play amplifier. It takes one cable and that's it, and it just goes. So, but yeah, it's I've never done it the other way around, because Jason at Scoggins, he tells me at Hamcation that I need a Power Genius sitting right here behind me and on my videos? And I said, yes, I do. Let me know the tracking number when you send that to me, because now you guys have those, Steve. So that's Jason's fault. I'm not blaming you for that one, Steve, because Scoggins says, I think one of the guys, it wasn't Robbie, but I think one of the other guys says, why didn't Jason have a Power Genius on the desk behind him? And it's like, bro, I'm going to just let that question float. But I would love to have one. One of these days I might be able to grab one.
Subtle hint, maybe.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, I bought my Flex radio, and I bought the Flex radio for Costa Rica, which the guys that we all share the spot down there, they pitched in, and so we ended up splitting out about four or five ways. So, and then of course I bought that Flex radio, and Lori made me a pretty good deal on that Flex radio that I gave away on my 100K live stream, which was January of last year. And the lady who won that was at our local Hamfest last weekend, so we got to chat for a little bit. So that's pretty cool. She showed me a picture of it and everything. So, yeah, definitely getting some good use out of the Flex radio. But yeah, haven't hooked up the. I don't have an antenna up at the house right now that would handle a legal limit amplifier. But if I had a legal limit amplifier that I could plug up, then I can solve the antenna issue pretty quickly. So that's kind of the thing there. But yeah,
I mean, I know somebody who sells antennas.
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah. Insert DX Commander joke right here. So, which I actually just got. Those of you who took advantage of the DX Commander Easter special with the expeditions that Colin was selling, I bought 3 of them. Insert second DX Commander joke right here. But we're going to give 2 of them away on the live stream, probably next month, probably in May. Perhaps like the weekend before Dayton, something like that. We're going to do a giveaway. We're going to give away 2 brand new DX Commander expeditions. So more to come on that later. Just a little side note there. So cool. Okay. So is there any plans to carry the full line of Flex radios at Gigaparts, or I mean, why did the decision come about to just carry the Genius equipment?
There's no plans to bring in the Flex, but that's today, right? You never know how the crystal ball gets polished, type of thing. And if we've always considered it as well. Mm-hmm. And as always looking for ways to get the radio in front of different people. So that's certainly not an impossible discussion. Baby steps. I was telling Daniel yesterday, it's amazing the heat we get from, you can't get this out fast enough. Why'd you bring them in? It was like, but with 11,000 plus radios out in the field, you'll have a few guys. And that was a good opinion. I called the person. We had a nice long chat. He goes, "Oh, I understand what you're doing now." And so maybe long term, but maybe tomorrow, it's like somebody will wake up and say, "Yeah, you need to get some product here on the shelf." And we were Andy VA3CW and I were down at their store, their 25th anniversary special. Is that what it was?
Just 2 weeks. Ham Radio Day.
Yeah, for Ham Radio Day.
Just a couple weeks ago then.
Yeah, and Steve and his lovely wife took us out for dinner. We had a great time, and we went through the Signals Museum, which I said we were going to mention as well. We might as well give them a plug, because this is a big deal. This is just not a museum of radios, right, Steve?
Correct. The Signals Museum originally was Museum of Information Explosion. Came to be a brainchild 2 years ago. And that brainchild now is quite amazing. There's a Flex, correct me if I'm wrong, 6400. We have a club station, but the whole Signals Museum is the history of not only ham radio, but radio, teletype, photography. It's a work in progress. Mm-hmm. It's probably 3/4 of the way there. There's a lot of final touches in place right now. And, I know Mike and Andy, when they came for, Ham Radio Day, they stopped by and they visited some of the curators and docents, as the common word here with the Space and Rocket Center, docents. Mm-hmm. And so they got to see everything. And I think one of the big things about this museum is once it is open, and we're going to have an open house Huntsville Hamfest weekend, probably that Friday before, maybe Thursday for the early arrivers, since Saturday and Sunday are going to be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And let everybody see what the history of technology.
Okay.
And there's so much going on. The way everything is interfaced. I know at one point they were talking about, you take your cell phone, you scan a QR code, and it plays a video about what you're looking at.
Mm.
But the automation, like it's interactive. If you want to play with a telephone switchboard, Lily Tomlin style with the plugins, there was a whole CW, interactive station with monitors that pop up and animated graphics. I mean, this is, I was blown away. It's just not sort of a trivial, here's a sign and here's what a CW key works like. It's hands-on. And it's probably, as you said, 80% done. I've never seen so many cathedral radios in one place, all too. And they were amazing and mint. And I guess Mark finds them everywhere, right? And
I was going to say, Mark, between the museum, his home, and I hear he has a lakeside home, probably about an hour away. So he has plenty of items available to bring in, swap things out from the museum with other things. And last night, I didn't get to go to the meeting last night, but last night they restored, I think, a lithograph. I know they restored.
Yeah.
And it seems like every month they are restoring something and making it better. There are so many tubes. They actually have their own tech center. It is no joke. I mean, they can fix it. If they can't fix it, there's something wrong. And I don't want to give them that shout out. And all of a sudden people are like, can you fix my old antique, Edison, but there is, there's a Tesla coil there. There is a spark gap. I don't know if they're going to put that on the floor, but there is one.
RFI City. Wow.
Yeah, they asked Andy and I if we wanted to stay and repair radios, because there's a whole repair center in the back. You should be able to smell the oil of a Model 28 KSR teletype screaming away.
Wow.
Right. They hadn't gotten to that part, right? That was sort of in the back, but
yeah.
So we were at our small local hamfest that happened last weekend, and we talked about this on my Sunday live stream, but I don't think you guys caught that. So if you look at the Zoom window right now, you can see one of the finds I found. I did not buy this, but I got a small crash course from the guy who had this on his table. This is a KWM2 Collins, and it's one of, I think he said it was the first, but if not, it was one of the first transceivers that they ever built in Collins, circa 1962 to 4-ish, I think. And he had a set of Collin, I can't remember, 110s or 101s or whatever it was, the transmitter receiver. He had a set of those too, and those, he said those were from the 50s. But the vintage radio thing is fun to read the history on, and to see how all this stuff came about, and see how they did things back in the day, and how some of the stuff that exists today. Why is this knob over here, or why is this called this term? Where did this term come from? A great example is the term PL tone. What's a PL tone? You don't see the term PL tone in any of the study guides for Technician General and Extra, but it's an old Motorola term that means private line, which is what we call CTCSS. It's the same thing. It's not actually private. That's just kind of what they called it back then. But stuff like that, I like to see things like that are vintage, and especially this one. It looked brand spanking new. It looked like that he had done a fantastic restore job on it. Even on the inside, it was a little bit dusty, but it looked like it was very well taken care of. So your museum, if it has stuff like that, I'm already interested in it. So I was already thinking about coming to Huntsville maybe a day earlier than I did last year. So we're gonna have to see what the timing looks like for all that.
Okay.
But
that's a great hamfest. I was at it a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Are you planning on? Are you going to? Well, first of all, are you going to Dayton, Michael?
I will be at Dayton this year.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
Which reminds me, I need to write my presentation on remote operating. So we'll take the shameless plug, and I do have part of one of the forum presentations, and back in January, I had to write the schedule for it, or the description of it. But we really want to focus on. I want to focus on new users. Not the geeky guys that already know everything, because they're pain in the butt to argue with, just like me. But no, I want to focus on the new users and give them some steps they can follow to getting into remote operating, being whether it's down in your shack or just in a different room or in the backyard, or maybe taking a device to shut in so he can get on the air on 80 meters and describe all the meds he's using. Oh, sorry.
Well, there you go.
Anyway,
okay, then.
But yeah, this should be a lot of fun.
Good. Yeah, that's always a fun show. We were just talking about it the other day, and of course Huntsville's right around the corner after that. Well, a couple months after that, but not too long.
Don't tell Kyle, but I want him to do some stuff too. So
he was in the chat earlier. I think
saw him.
he's probably still out there.
He's still out there.
Yeah, but he's probably at work right now because we're actually heading to a overland show in Springfield, Missouri tomorrow, and Shane and I are going to meet Kyle there. We're going to hang out at that show this weekend, so kind of represent ham radio. I'm doing a presentation that says how to get started in ham radio, which I did at the same show last year and had a dozen or so people there, so that was a fun thing. So
that's what Eric was doing at QSO today as well, right? He wanted to more focus on the new stuff, and I think we're going to be at IDXCC in Visalia, California this weekend as well.
Oh, okay, good. IDXCC. Yeah, I've heard of that. I don't know anything about it really, but I have heard of that show. So, okay, good. Awesome. Well, how's the I don't want you to give me, I'm not asking you to give me sales numbers or anything, but how has the response been, Steve, to Flex Radio being there? Have you seen people come by and ask for it, or online? Have you seen much questions? Sales, whatever. I mean, what do you think about it?
Sales are, when it comes to the Tuner Genius and the Antenna Genius, I'm impressed. Now, of course, people above me may have different answers to that. Like I just went to the club breakfast this morning, and we were talking about the amp. And I gave them what my own personal review, and I said my only con for the amp is just the size, because I'm a KPA 500 owner also.
Yeah.
So my only thing is just the size of the amp. It doesn't fit my atmosphere in the shack.
Yeah.
That's my only thing. That is it. I plugged it up. I wasn't told to necessarily break it.
Yeah.
But
you tried.
I tried. I did. And I was impressed right out the box. I tried to avoid, looking at the startup guide, how-to things, and 101D, 1500 solid to the 160 vertical, 7610, same thing. TS 590, same thing. And that was doing RF sensing.
So, okay, so let me stop you there, because I don't know the answer to this question, but I think I think it's good info. So for the Power Genius, as I understand it, you plug your Flex Radio, the 6400. That you guys can probably see that, it's right there. So you plug the 6400 into the Ethernet port. Okay. Also, it's plugged into an antenna into the power right now, obviously. And I could go in. Well, I could take that inside and plug it into my switch in my office upstairs if I had a Power Genius down here plugged into my antenna, and then those two will see each other across the network. How does that work with a 7610 or an ICOM radio or something, or a Yaesu radio, or whatnot? Does the RF does the network matching up still work the same?
Good question. No. You have to do the other school, which is where you have to send band data or frequency data directly from the radio into the amplifier.
Okay.
And that's always been a challenge when you have multiple devices, because generally you then make the computer the key part to communicating. Yes. So before you do anything, you got to boot up the computer. But in a one-on-one, just like your KPA 500, you have to have one cable. Or you could run the KPA 500 in RF sense mode, and it just works. You just put up the single RCA push-to-talk cable, which we don't use on a Flex radio. So that works really well. And
Okay.
I have cool ways, where we can take the amplifier and get it off your bench, Steve, and you can extend it over, you know, a couple geeky ways to get it a little further away, or even at the base of the tower type of thing, right? But you still want, it's a nice amp. You want to see it sitting in front of you. And I'm going to take a minute because there's one feature I want to talk about with the amp, if you don't mind.
Sure. No, go ahead.
And it's the harmonic dummy load. And what the heck is that? And I remember when I told it to Steve, he went, "Oh my God, I never heard of this before." When you amplify a radio...
Let me interrupt you. Steve's never heard of that before because Steve don't watch my channel enough, because you've mentioned this on this channel. So shame on Steve. But this is a cool feature. Go ahead, Michael. I just had to throw that in to razz Steve for a minute.
Okay, let him defend himself.
No, that's okay. When he asked to borrow the amp now,
right? Yeah. I just shot myself.
Yeah,
I just shot myself in the foot. Okay. All right. Go ahead,
what
Michael.
The heck is a harmonic dummy load? So you remember from ham school, if you amplify a radio signal, like say 14 megahertz, and you make it more 14 megahertz, more volts, you also get more harmonics. Right, so you get a big signal at 28, and then the third, fourth, fifth harmonic. So, and legally, we can't allow that energy to flow out the antenna. Right, so we capture it with a very simple, amplifier manufacturers capture it with a very simple device called a low-pass filter. So it lets 14 megahertz through, and somewhere about halfway in between, there's this big filter that prevents all this energy from coming out. And essentially, it's a bad SWR. Is what it sees, because it reflects. So if you could measure that reflected wave at 28 megahertz, you'll see it's actually fairly big. So in every other amplifier, it hits the low pass filter, goes, nope, not making it the antenna, and it bounces back and it goes right back to the LMDOS, which can cause bad IMD, intermodulation distortion, and it can corrupt how clean your signal sounds. So credit 403A with this design, part of the Clean Signal Initiative that we're starting to go down that whole path. We don't want that reflected energy to go back into the LMDOS because it's going to make our signal sound worse. So they actually add another filter, a high pass filter, that grabs that energy coming backward and deflects it over to a dummy load and turns it into heat. Now, I didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't think it was that much heat, but there's a 400 watt dummy load in that radio, and it gets hot from just capturing the reflected energy. And it's not doing anything wrong. In fact, it's doing everything right. And this is why the Power Genius XL has some of the best IMD numbers out there. And is from this technology design. Of course, this all adds to the cost, but you get a cleaner amplifier. And the amplifier also supports two OEM radios at the same time, meaning that you could be actually listening on 40 meters while transmitting on 80. Now, generally only contesters do that in SO2R mode, but it's just, it's part of the amplifier.
So two OEM radios. So can you not have an ICOM and a Flex radio at the same time?
Sure. Yep.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yep.
I thought you meant two Flex radios, but okay.
You could do, you could do like a 6600, which is like two radios.
Yeah.
The whole talk on the spectral capture unit, right?
Right.
Or you could have a 6400 or one radio dedicated to one half and the other radio, your 590, which is a great HF radio for the money, by the way.
Yes.
Very good contest radio for the money.
Yeah.
On the other half. And, you got to work out a few tricks, but yeah, it works.
Cool. Okay.
I remember when I told Steve and his guys there, they were like, "Oh, I've never heard of this before." Right? This harmonic dummy load, and it's a cool feature.
It is a cool feature. And we did. I couldn't tell you which episode it was, but Michael's been on the show 3 or 4 or 5 times.
It's been a while.
And yeah. But we have talked about that before, and I thought it was a cool feature back then. So yeah, that's definitely worth bringing up again. Good. So Steve, have you tried what do you think about the? Kind of a loaded question. What do you think about the Tuner Genius? Because
the Tuner Genius.
Because to me, now, and I'd like to hear what you have to say about this also, Michael. I mean, having a tuner, and the Tuner Genius it's not cheap. It's a few bucks, and having a Tuner Genius just means that your antenna is not resonant, basically, or having an antenna tuner meaning it means that your antenna is not resonant. So if you have a hex beam or a tri-band or something like this, then you should already have a resonant. If you have a step-IR, which adjusts itself, obviously, then you already have a resonant antenna. So is there a reason to have a Tuner Genius if you're using a resonant antenna? And I think you can hook up like, what, 6 or 8 different antennas to the thing?
Not really.
No?
But the tuner question's a good question. I'm just going to speak in tuners in general. I'm not a tuner guy because my old Elmer, who's long since passed away, said, what do you need a tuner for? Fix the friggin' antenna. Use it, And so tuners just, your antenna system starts at the connector you put in the back of the radio. Right? And you're supposed to, we were all taught to match impedances as best you can all the way through. So, but the world's gotten generally lazy and said, well, if it tunes, I'm great. And well, sure, it tunes. The radio sees a great SWR, which is highly overrated. Doesn't mean your antenna is radiating very well. And you'll radiate, you'll get some signal out, but you can do better. And so the Tuner Genius is good to 10 to 1. I'm going to pass it to Steve because you've used it. I want your first impressions. I'm biased, obviously, and I have a stepper antenna, so I use my Tuner Genius, but I have it in bypass mode just so I can use it as my watt meter.
Oh,
going to the stepper, which is really handy. Sort of overkill, but go ahead, Steve.
Yeah.
Well, and what I was going to, I don't have a contest set up. Wishful thinking. Yeah. Maybe, version 2 of living here in Alabama. So, the only resonant antenna I do have is my Mosley CL33 that right now is only 10 feet off the ground because I can't put a tower up when the water table in the backyard is horrible. So I'll use the 7610 as my example. When I went to use the tuner, I'm like, okay, I can wire it up with our little interface kit that we offer. Great. I have to put it in AM. Okay. Put it in AM. Press tune.
He puts quicker. It in AM, by the way, just to get 20 watts out because that's what the tuner wants. It was just an easy way to do it.
Okay.
So, do the AM trick, and it's not a bust on any other product we offer here at Gigaparts. A lot quicker than the LDG, AT1000.
Okay.
I have never opened up a Palstar box here. I don't get them back. So to me, if I don't get them back in returns, they must work.
That's a good thing. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not going to bash the 3-letter company because someday they work, someday they don't. But
yeah.
The tuner worked, and it was a very quick, with my 160 vertical. I've got it set right now for 1840 FT8 160. So during the 160 contest, that's when I really got to play with it. And I was able to go up to 1920, park myself there, zip within less than 3 seconds, and it had no issues. Great. So that's what I used it. And even when I moved 10 KCs, it was a very quick zip. It wasn't like others.
Yeah, I've heard that about the Tuner Genius, that it's incredibly fast. So that's good.
And even when I went back to, let's say, 1920 or went to 1940, 1950 to chase some of, I call them the Jersey boys, when I was still living up there, right to it, click, done. There was no, I'm going to have that little 1 second click and then it goes up. No, it was milliseconds.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. The Tuner Genie, you asked about antennas. I didn't answer the question. Tuner Genie comes in the SO2R model, which pairs beautifully with the Power Genius for single operator 2 radio, which of course pairs beautifully with, a 6600 or 2 6400s or 2 AM radios.
Right.
There's only one antenna port out, and that's when you really, if you're building that sort of station, that's where you really want the antenna Genius as well, because you have 8 antennas that you can share among those 2 paths, A and B path. There's also a Tuner Genius, which is a 1x3, meaning 1 RF port in, and you've got an antenna switch on the back for 3 antennas, which is pretty typical for most urban operators, right? Not many get past 3, HF antennas. Some do. But...
Right. So how do you switch that? Is it a manual switch, or is it you do that in the software?
If it's tracking, it'll do it. You assign it when you set it up and say, hey, this is 80/40, and this is my tri-band.
Right, but I mean, like how are you switching those. You said it had 3 outputs. So how do you choose which one? Is that something you can do in Smart SDR?
That, but there's also you can send it band data from the radio, so the radio knows. So when you go to say 6 meters, the radio will send the 6 meter cat command to the tuner.
I see.
This is where it gets a little more cable-y to have both the tuner genius and the antenna genius working at the same time. So we've got some solutions we're working on. We don't have all the equipment to go test everything, but you know, the math, as they say, the math says it should work just fine by splitting RS-232 ports. And there's many. If you know how to do this, you don't even need to listen to me because you already know what to do. But as a user, if you don't know what serial RS-230 data is and how it works and how you make it multi-cliented, then there's a bit more bits you got to throw at it, type of thing. It's not complicated if you understand the technology, which is a pretty typical question. It's part of the reason that I have this talk called the death of the RS-232 port, because I think you've heard it, right? It's incredibly limiting,
right?
As we get more and more integrated in any ham shack. And in my case, you can look behind me. All my ham shack stuff's now on the shelf behind me, and this is now just really a desk with a mouse and a little bit of stuff on it. And
is the Antenna Genius weatherproof? Is it made to be mounted outside?
No? Outside's fine, but you need to come up with your own weatherproof case.
Okay,
which isn't hard today, right?
No, I mean, because a lot of guys use those. Well, MFJ makes one, but there's a couple other companies that make them also. That just one coax coming out of the shack, and 6 or 8 antennas, vertical, horizontal, whatever. Even including 2 meters if you have a transverter.
Even Heathkit made those.
Right. Yeah. So, but those are typically, you want those mounted outdoors so that you don't have 6 or 8 or 10 coaxes coming into the shack. You just have one coming out of the shack, and then it controls the antenna switch on the outside. So that's what I was wondering if.
Or you could get really carried away and put a little shack at the base of the tower, run a LAN cable to it, and put all the radios out there. And guess what? You've actually significantly improved your station because you've gotten rid of feed line losses. True. Which is what I do in my remote, right? Even when I go to the cottage where my remote is, I have to use my remote remotely because it's 200 feet away.
Okay.
Now it's easier to go fix things because I just have to walk across the field, but and Cat 5 is a lot cheaper than LMR 400 at 100 foot.
Yes, UV resistant Cat 5 at that is easy to get.
That would be a good idea, but I usually whatever crap I have lying around, and then I said, I'll replace it next summer. And then it's like 5 years later, right? And it's still working. So.
Well, see, the sun in Texas would kill it. The summers in Texas would kill it if it's not UV resistant. It might last a couple of years, but of course I have the canine DOG problem as well. So I got 3 dogs in the backyard, and they like to chew on things. So, but
Tabasco sauce.
yeah, I could do that. Make your signal really hot. So, all right, cool. So Tuner Genius, we answered that. So Antenna Genius is, I think you said it was 8 outputs.
It's a 2x8. We actually also have I don't know, Steve, if you know this, we actually have some 1x8s as well, which means 1 in and 8 out.
Yeah.
Which is its little younger brother. We've got those in stock here in Texas. So. Yeah.
Okay.
Renko's team at 403A have done. Their stuff is not inexpensive, but it's really good.
Good. Okay. Cool. So what else? Those are the 3 items: the Tuner Genius, Antenna Genius, and Power Genius. Is that the 3 items that you carry, Steve?
Yes, that's the current Genius profile we have.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus a whole bunch of other ham radio stuff.
Yeah. True.
And computer stuff.
True. Okay.
That was, I plugged the computer, because Mike and Andy, when they came for Ham Radio Day, they were right at, as soon as you come in the door, and Jason, you've been in the store several times. Their table was right as soon as they came in the door on the right-hand side, second door in.
Right.
The first thing that they said is, "This is a computer. This is a computer store with amateur radio in the back corner." Absolutely. They were very happy. And that, when somebody that has never been to the store says, "You have computers," okay, yes, we are a technology superstore. we're also a technology town. But
Oh,
we
yeah,
still have our flavor of ham radio and makers and
arguably, by the way, the computer today is 50% of our ham shack, if not more in some cases. So it's a beautiful mix.
A lot of times that is true. Yes, very true. So okay, I'm looking at this Antenna Genius on the Gigaparts website right now. So this is the 8x2.
Yes.
So you've got well, I can switch the view so everybody sees what I'm looking at here. You've got the it looks like RCA or composite type cables on the top there.
You're wrong.
Yeah, I can't really tell what that is. The green port in the center, I think, is probably power. And then
probably I think those are the dip switches, and then there's there are other connectors. It will take BCD band data.
Okay.
For switching, there'll be a LAN connector, a power connector.
Yeah.
Or the DB9s or the high densities are for your BCD inputs.
Okay.
Type of thing. And,
but you could run but you could run this at the base of your tower and just connect an Ethernet from it to your ham shack and control everything.
Pretty much in the Flex EcoStructure, yeah. In the non-Flex, you may. You may call Kyle. I love picking on Kyle, but you may use Node Red to drive some information to it. If you're getting to that level of integration type of thing.
Okay. Good.
There's the world's great now with the technology because in all honesty, thanks to things like Node Red and the couple hundred. Actually, we have about 2,000 members. Playing around in that world, it's allowed us to really integrate stuff that wasn't designed to be integrated. Those do look like RCA connectors. Oh, yeah, those are the push-to-talk in it.
Yes, PTT-A in and out, and PTT-B in and out. So
that's for cascading things. That's right.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, perfect. All right, so what else
they've got
is going
some
on?
RS-232 and CIV BCD converters that are actually now available. So you could, with the array solutions, I think they call it a CAT CR5. You come out of the radio in RS-232, you go into that, and then it'll control 3 devices. So you can send one to the tuner, one to the Power Genius, and one to the Antenna Genius. And then it's Audio Magic, right? And just write the check.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm trying to think about my own setup here and thinking about how I could incorporate something like that because I've been wanting a some sort of external antenna switch for a while. So currently I only have one HF antenna up, but I have a hex beam that I'm working on. And then, and I can't put a DX, before everybody starts, I can't put a DX commander in the backyard because of dogs. Because it does require I don't want something with ground radials in the backyard. But we can take that to the hunting lease and use it there. So that might be something in the future for that. But, yeah, I'm just kind of thinking about my own application. I'm just trying to, if I put it into my own application, I kind of get a better understanding how it works overall. So, good.
Yeah, there's just, the mind's the limit, right? We have,
right.
Because we are customers, which are, like the marks of the world at the Signals Museum, right? That or they're retired and they just got a new hobby for their hobby, right? And the integration's huge. COVID made remote mainstream.
Yes.
You know how plug and play. You have a 63 or 6400 in Costa Rica.
64.
Yeah, you know how plug and play that is, right? So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, our biggest issue with that radio down there is the internet. Because it's not stable. So when the internet goes down at the site, through no fault of the radio, we can't connect to the radio. So, that's the biggest problem we have. But, that it is what it is. So, but when it's up and running, it's great.
Cool.
So, cool. All right. Well, hey, I got to ask the question, and I know what the answer is going to be, but I'm going to ask it anyway because it's my show, right? So what's new coming down in Flex Radio that we haven't seen
Let me
yet?
write this down. The answer is... so I can't tell you. And the reason I can't tell you is, in the early days, you'd leak stuff out, but I think social media has really killed the ability to let out rumors because say, we're working on thing and we hope to have it out by May, and then something comes up, whether there's parts availability has always been an issue in different areas, whether and I've said this about the Maestro, we went to buy, this is what delayed the Maestro so long, was issues with the tablet. And then you go say something like, and I wasn't there, but we'd like to buy 5,000 of these and stockpile them so we can build radios for 5 years. And they go, we weren't going to make that many.
Oh, wow.
So you then have to requalify different hardware.
Yeah.
And and we're seeing, and every HF manufacturer has this problem too with, power amp chips.
Yeah.
The ones you've used for 20 years aren't available anymore.
Right.
So either because the amateur radio was the only people using them, not a big industry, right? So we're not going to do another production load. And so I can't say anything. We've got some new radios coming out that are commercial, the 9600.
So Don N5SKT, he put a picture in the chat, and I'm like, that looks photoshopped. It looks like you took a 6400 and put a new number on it. But no, he says it's the military. So what is it?
We're doing a lot with the military now. I'm a Canadian, so they don't tell me anything anymore.
Well, don't blame them, but okay.
If I'm want to learn anything, I have to Google it and look for the press release. But that being said, the military, whether the Air Force or whatever, has been incredibly impressed with the technology, the platform, the ability to scale. They loved waveforms. Now, while amateur hasn't done much with waveforms yet, if we hams came out with a really new mode, and I'm going to get beat up on this, but I'll say it anyway, and you would have had to go buy a whole new radio. Well, you could write a waveform for that and just load it, and the radio would do it. Or a new modem mode. Is even a better example where you just this sort of thing. So that's where a lot of that development time is right now. We will. I know I've said it before. It will benefit us in the long run, and
good.
We would all have liked to gotten more of it back in the amateur world sooner. But if you've ever run your own company or worked for somebody, sometimes the priorities are different.
Right. And that was the big theme at the Flex Radio dinner at Hamvention last year. Is that these military agreements had not come to a finish, but they basically fulfilled their obligation, and they kind of finished some project somewhere, and now they have time to work on more of the amateur side. So that's happening, not as fast as we'd like, but sometimes you get scope creep too, and we say no, and then they say, well, we'll pay you something with a lot of zeros on it if you do it. Oh, okay. Well, okay. Yeah, that's understandable. You brought up the Maestro, and I was going to ask you about that earlier. What is there still a backlog on those, or what's the story on the latest story on the Maestro?
There'll be I don't know what we'll call it. Let's just call it Maestro C for fun, because there was an A and B.
Right.
And the M models, which have the front panel.
Yes, built into the radio.
Which is like this one. It's backwards over my head here.
Yeah.
And it's double backwards because anyway. They've all been impacted by the display, and it's like I said earlier. So we quantified a display, we got it to work, it'll do what we want it to do. We can write the software for it, and then all of a sudden there's no displays available or not enough displays. So you do a second one. This went on through 3 cycles.
Oh wow!
And I don't know if you know this, the display on the 6400M and the 6600M and the Maestro is 8 inches.
Yes.
8's a little less common.
Right.
Where 7 and 11 are the norm. And all hammer, like a 7610 and even my 7300, which is over there, they're much smaller displays. So, we have these, all these discussions you think about, they happen internally too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, screw it, man, just go to a 7-inch. Well, then we have to retool, and that really drives the price up and everything even more. So we thought the 8-inch display was still such a huge selling feature in both devices, because how many people are on this chat that have at least 2 pairs of glasses sitting at their desk?
Yeah.
You know, and we're not getting any, and it's an aging group, so that's what the delay is. But targets the fall with a big push to exceed that. I don't know if I could say that out loud, but the work continues, and there are many things to happen. There will be some new features we promised, so we'll have some news on that. That will be in there. It's like saying, and I'm going to say this hypothetically, you're going to support IPv6. Okay, it was common ask, especially from Europe, because you can't get in some cases an IPv4 address. Hopefully, but it depends on the network card or the modem that's in the device that comes with, right? Does it support it? So these are all things that, we're sort of a little bit out of our control. Oh, you want a tablet that does all that? Well, that's double the price. So I wish I could share more, but there's always a bunch of things in the air that drive the end result.
Right. Okay. So they're hoping Q4, or you said fall, but
I'm thinking September, but it really does change.
All right. So when that happens,
and flows daily.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. I like to tease you guys, but I totally. And the chip shortage and global supply chain issues have affected everybody. So.
No, say that ain't.
Yeah.
Well, good case in point too is when the first fire happened. That was the guys that build all the local oscillators, right? That we use. Right. We had to retool a motherboard to take the new oscillator.
Yep.
When you retool it, then you have to requalify the board. So, by the way, I was talking to one of our designers a while ago. What do you think? How much money do you think you need to set aside? I think I told Steve this. If you want to design a new radio for scratch, and you're Jason's ham radio company, and I'm going to build a HF radio that I want to compete with us or Elecraft. How much money do you think you need to set aside?
I'll probably get it wrong, but 300,000.
Steve, did I mention this to you at dinner?
You mentioned at dinner. I just don't remember the figure.
I think $1 million, and you'll be light.
Yeah. I was wondering if it was into 7 figures or not, but
so a lot of that's just taken up by salary. Say it takes you 6 or 8 months. Okay, so we all like to get paid.
Yeah.
So you can start quickly doing the math, and you'll see you'll chew through that pretty fast, and then you have to pay that all back. Yeah. How many radios are you going to sell? 20? Well, not worth it. 20,000? Okay, now it's worth it, right? So,
Yeah. Okay. Well, when that and I'll send Lori an email and propose this as well. But when that Maestro becomes a thing, let me know.
When I have a prototype, I will call you.
Well, yeah, that and I want to get one for myself as well. So I'll buy one, and then we can get on and do a live stream together, and we can go through everything that it does.
Sure.
So because I think my model is the B model, not the A model. I think, but
they're other than construction of them, they're identically the same.
There's like the power buttons on a different place or something, right?
Power buttons top or side. So
mine's the one on mine's the side.
That's a B.
That's a B. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so
yeah. And we're going to have to figure out where to put the power button on the C. Or maybe it'd be someplace different. Right?
so you can make it look different. So yeah, that's good. But no, that'd be a really cool video live stream to talk about that when it's right before it releases or right as it releases. However y'all want to do that is fine. So we should plan for that because I always thought that was a cool device anyway.
I'm getting away with saying more than I should because I know everybody in the company is in a company luncheon right now. So I'm watching live.
No, nobody's watching.
So I'm waiting for Lori to pop up on Slack going, "Shut up."
That's good.
Okay, man, we're all hams. We all try, right? You guys really do care. So
yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm not going to mention who, but some companies get mad when you speculate on new products. But they have if it's the one you're poking on. Yeah,
I think on our end, I get the vendor bulletin. And the first thing I immediately do is, when are you doing a live chat? Because they would send out that vendor bulletin. It would get leaked to YouTube content creators and
leaked.
Yeah,
and
leaked.
And then the information was wrong. We saw that with the 710. And
well, there was speculation on the 710 because their promo photo had a big screen behind it. There was like, oh, it comes with a screen. I'm sure it doesn't come with a screen, but that was a terrible promo photo.
Yeah.
But
there's no such thing as bad press.
Well, and see, that's the other thing. Leaked. If your stuff is not getting leaked, you're not playing the leak game correctly. All of these. Oh, leaked Hollywood trailer to this new movie. They didn't leak. They leaked that on purpose. That was all part of the plan. So yeah, leak information when you get it on purpose.
I mean,
I have a list of trolls I'll leak stuff to.
Right. That's good. That's good.
It's like giving you an Explorer backpack.
Mm-hmm.
Look what happened.
Yep. Correct. That's exactly right. So, good deal. All right, guys, we're just about at an hour. So, is there anything, any final thoughts from either one of you?
No, but I'm thinking Doritos.
Doritos. I think I finished that bag.
No, always, Jason, always glad to be here and talk about stuff. And hopefully if we see some people at Dayton, which is like a month away.
A month away, yeah. It's coming up real quick. So
and Steve, you guess you guys will be at Dayton. We'll see Steve again.
Yep. You guys are in building 2. We're in building 3, right next to Yesu.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows why we'll be putting in the back of a Bronco.
Jason, I got to tell you this, it'll never happen because we just don't have the budget for it. But we poke around ideas about what is the booth going to look like or what pizzazz, and we won't have anything new to announce at that time. Mm-hmm. But I said, Lori, we need to go rent one of those, 12 by 8 video walls. Mm-hmm. And have it just hanging above the booth, just with a waterfall going on it. Can you imagine?
That'd be great.
But we actually made calls, but we couldn't find anybody that would deliver one without like a whole crap load of money, right? Because they're used to doing concerts. And it's,
yeah.
But just imagine, so maybe we can get some of those projectors are pretty bright now. Maybe we just get a screen up there and.
Totally. Yeah, Kyle's reminding us about the Flex Radio dinner. So I think Kyle and I. And one or two other people, I can't remember who else right now. We've bought tickets for the Thursday night dinner, so we'll be attending that.
Thursday night will be the ham side guy, Nathan
Frizzle.
Oh, Nathaniel.
Nathaniel, thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, it's not in front of me, so I'm guessing.
No, yeah.
Looking forward to that because I don't know that much about him, but others said it's really great. And then for the new ham or the newer ham. We could do a whole show on this, but on Friday night, Bob from Palomar is going to talk about chokes. Okay. And I posted this on the community and got ripped a new one, but I think what's missing in today's world is any wire you hook up to a radio, not just the antenna cable, can be a receiving antenna, and all these contribute to your noise floor as well. So he's going to talk about the use of chokes in today's common ham shack, and she mentioned to Steve yesterday, and because you saw it, right? They have this beautiful, like you can say, hey, I've got an ICOM 7300, send me the choke kit.
Yep.
And
yes, I have that kit. Going. Yes, I have that.
You know
kit.
What? Mm-hmm. Your noise floor starts to go down.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing to do with and transmitting, of course, but the importance now is in receiving, right? So
right.
So Bob's going to talk about that.
That's interesting.
Going to be really slick.
I will. You know what? That'd be a good live stream too. So maybe I'll shoot an email out here later, because I have one of their 7300 kits, and I bought a kit for something else. I can't remember, but I don't have the 7300 here in the shack, so I never have hooked it up. But last I checked, that's a 7700. I wouldn't mind. Oh, I bought a kit for the Flex. Yeah, I bought a kit because they make one for the Flex, I think.
Yep, he does. And, he's a big Flex user too.
Right. Yeah. I bought their 7300 kit and their Flex kit, and I put I didn't put the Flex kit comes with like everything. Well, I don't have everything hooked up on my Flex, so I put the ones in that I had connections for. Like I don't have 2 antennas. I don't have a receive antenna. I don't have an amplifier in the shack right now, so I didn't hook any of that up. But the stuff that I did, I used, and I did notice a difference on it too. I need to see if they have a 7700 kit. But that'd be an interesting topic as well. Okay, all right. Well, good to know that's who's speaking.
That's Friday, and if you need tickets, maybe if I'll post it in the end of the chat where to order tickets for either 2 of the dinners, or just email me and info@flexradio.com. We'll get you all sorted out.
Okay, perfect.
I'll go look for the link to the dinner tickets.
Okay. Yeah, I think Kyle shared it with me like a month ago. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna go Thursday." I'm like, "That's great. I'll go buy mine right now." And I went and bought my tickets. So, yeah, that's. I think I've been on Thursday the last 2 years. Well, the year before COVID, and then every year since COVID. So.
Yeah, it's in our insider, which we send out once I write this, which is about a week behind, and it should be done this week. So we'll have to get it done. But I'll pop it in the chat on YouTube. So
perfect. Okay.
Give me a second.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Steve, what's going on at Gigaparts? Anything special?
Some guy named Jason Scoggins decided to sit across from me here in the conference room. I did see in the chat somebody asked about the Explorer bag going camo or olive drab. I don't remember what it was.
Okay. It's the desert tan now, but
desert tan,
khaki, whatever.
We're just gonna leave it at the time being desert tan.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I know that
I can't
Jason
post it in the Skype chat, so you'll have to dump it in. It says
I got it.
Okay.
I got it in the Zoom chat. So, yeah, Jason said something about it having y'all doing I think it's an add-on for it that will hold some of the masts, because my only gripe about the Explorer bag, it's not tall enough to hold my Spider Beams mask, and therefore not it's not going to hold the 50-foot carbon fiber that you guys make, but that little squatty one that you sent me a sample of, it wouldn't hold. It was too tall for that mast as well. That mast was too tall for the bag rather, but I think y'all are working on some sort of add-on that is like a mast carrying bag or whatever.
Yeah, you know our Skunk Works is always fully operational.
Right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. But
by the way, I want to give a plug out to Gigaparts. When you go to a business the first time, you're sort of like, you know what it's all about. So they have a beautiful storefront, but I got to go to their distribution warehouse. That's not a trivial place.
No, every time I go in there, they're like, "You don't have a camera on you, do you?" I'm like, "No, it's in the truck." Okay, you can come in. so they won't let me film anything in there.
Yeah, like Steve frisked me before I came in the door.
Yeah, that sounds right. That's but that is a cool place, very much so. Cool. All right, well, guys, Steven and Michael, thank you very much today. This is always like talking about Flex Radio stuff on the channel. Somebody hit me up the other day. They're like, "Hey," and they replied to when I went down there and toured the facility in Austin like 4 years ago. Somebody recently put a comment on that video and said, "You need to do this again or talk about Flex Radio more." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I do, but they need to release a new radio also."
Yeah, we know. Maybe we'll get Steve on. I'll bug our CTO and 5AC to show up.
You could always be like Elecraft and release a new radio and then have it backordered for 3 years. So, you know. Sting.
Well, I can tell you, the number of conversations I've been in, there's always an idea sitting there. And fortunately and unfortunately, the people that manage the numbers for the company aren't ham operators. So it's a good and bad thing, right?
Yeah, right.
And say, okay, well, how many can you build? What's the cost to build it? How quickly can you bring it to market? How many are you going to sell?
Right.
And of course, you pay for the rate when you buy a radio today. It pays for the development and it pays for the support on the tail end as well.
Right.
Right. And, you don't have to buy extra support. It comes with the first 2 years with it.
Correct. Which is a good thing. Yes. So, yep. Cool. Well, thanks, guys. Once again, thank you very much for the time today. I'll let both of you go, and we will see you. If not before, if I don't talk to y'all before then, I would definitely see both of you in Dayton.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, y'all have a good weekend. And, Steve, I'll hit you up, and we'll do something when we get to it's not till August, but when we get to Huntsville, we'll do something with that museum as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being in the chat today. Go check out. I put links to Gigaparts and to Flex Radio in the description and the email blast that I sent out prior to this video going live. So thanks to everyone for joining today, and we'll see you this weekend sometime. Later.
7-3.
7-3.